HCN. HCN.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning to you wherever you're watching HCN. This is the Dot Stream, and here on HCN we promote tradition, development, culture, and education. On today's show, specially dedicated to our sisters, our mothers, and our daughters who have for some reason gone through some sort of violence and an abuse in their relationship or in their marriage life. Today's show is dedicated to you. Do you have a brother or a sister or a mother or a friend who is going through this situation? Today we have well-grounded and versed experts who will take us through the dynamics of violence and domestic abuse, help us understand everything that happens within the context of a home and how we can at least try to solve it, in worst case prevent it at all. But this show today is dedicated to a special person, and I'm sure everybody is aware of this. About 3 weeks ago, a very unfortunate incident happened in Florida, in Orlando to be specific, where a pastor, a Ghanaian pastor for that matter, killed a wife over reasons that you and I cannot tell. But today we will use that as a focus of our discussion and then go deeper into the situations to understand probably what happened, even though we don't have anything to prove who was wrong and who was right, but at least we can get lessons from that. Before we do that, let me share with you some statistics. So according to the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, in their recent publications of 2020 edition of their study, they said, and I'm going to highlight 5 key sections of this fact sheet to you. On the average, here in America, nearly 20 people per minute are physically abused by an intimate partner in the United States. And during 1 year of this study, this equates to more than 10 million women and men. In the second instance, 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men have experienced some form of physical violence by an intimate partner. This includes a range of behaviors, for example, slapping, shoving, pushing, and what have you, and in some cases might not be considered as domestic violence. Number 3, 1 in 7 women and 1 in 18 men, and notice the difference, 1 in 7 women and 1 in 18 men have been stalked by an intimate partner during their lifetime to the point in which they felt very fearful or believed that they or someone close to them would be harmed or killed. And the emphasis is or killed. The last 2, women between the ages of 18 and 24 are most commonly abused by an intimate partner. And the very last one, 19% of domestic violence involves a weapon. These are very, very serious tidbits, fact sheets of what the nature of domestic violence is in this country. But before we delve into the situation, let's take a quick look at this video, which will put a context to today's discussion. We'll be right back.
No! No, it's not okay, Barbara. It's not okay. You cannot defend him. It's not okay.
Call the cops.
Do you see what he just did? No, Barbara. No, Barbara, I'm tired of you. No, I'm tired of you now. No, absolutely not. Do you? I know that. I understand. I get it.
Can you calm down?
Harry, stop.
We are not going to fucking come down. I came in here and I told you sit back. I told you we are not here to argue with you. Why did you fucking attack her? Why did you attack her?
Can you come down?
I'm not gonna come down because you started this.
Here, let me go.
You're gonna go to the other room and you're not gonna come out.
Barbara, what about that one?
Fuck you up. I'm telling you.
Barbara, that folder.
That's a divorce document.
Get up and go to your fucking room.
No.
I don't know what the fuck is wrong
Barbara,
with you.
move.
Keep acting up, I'll fuck you up. No, try me.
All right.
Try me.
Okay.
Try me.
All right.
Try me.
No, sorry. Why? It was unnecessary.
Don't give him the chance to bring these things.
Don't do that, Barbara. What if you came here by yourself?
You spoiled yourself, all right? But isn't this the same sister that you fucked up?
What did I fuck up about my sister?
No, yeah.
What did I fuck up about my sister?
Perry, what did I tell you? Let him go in the room.
Perry, leave
Perry.
him alone. Perry, leave him alone.
You should go. We don't need this right now.
Okay. All right. But you are the same person who supported me at the wedding, right?
I will call you at the wedding because you were fake. You were fake.
That's
You
the
were
water.
lying.
Perry.
You were fake. You and everybody that follows you. You were fake. I supported you because I thought you were different.
So now you
I
are
thought you
here.
were not like your
To support
family.
your sister.
Yes, I'm here to support
The
my
same
sister.
sister
And I'll
who
always
the
support her.
pastor told you that she was a witch.
Which pastor?
Am I
Name
right?
that pastor. Name that pastor. Which pastor told me my sister's
The same sisters.
Which pastor? Name the pastor. Is it you? You are a pastor. You.
Oh.
You don't know whether you are confirmed or a pastor, my friend. Get the fuck out of here before I fuck you up. We didn't come here for you. We did not come here for you. Don't let me hurt you. Leave. We didn't come here for you. We came to get something.
Can I promise you something?
Promise me.
If I don't kill your sister, then me, I am fake.
You got the video, right?
Yeah, I got it.
Right, call the cops.
No, it's not.
No, call the cops, Jen. No.
Barbara, stop that.
Fania, you don't play with threats like this. Jen, I'm calling the cops.
Perry's
No, you don't play with threats. Please call the cops.
only gonna escalate.
It should escalate. He's threatening you in front of me. He said he's going to kill you. What are you waiting for?
Oh, this is it.
What are you waiting for?
All right, just make sure it's there so we can go. If that's it, let's go. Let's just get the hell out of here.
Is it it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Make sure it's... Let's get out of here. We ain't coming here no more, Barbara. You lost all.
You heard what he said?
Is there anything else you need to get? Barbara, we're done.
Whatever you want to get.
Yeah, we're done. You lost all this.
No, I'm gonna come back for it.
You gonna come back for what? No, it's okay. It's okay, Barbara. It's another debt that can be paid off. Debt is debt. You cannot replace debt with life, and vice versa. It's gone. This is all. This ain't yours no more. Imagine if you come here by yourself.
Even with us over here, he still attacked you. Fabian, don't play with these things.
Why is this a joke
You
to
may
you?
not want to have him arrested, but you have to
I
make
don't
a
want
police
this.
report. You have to have a police report for future sake. The police need to make a report.
No, I'm gonna use this so you can get a restraining order.
Yeah,
You-
and make sure he's not coming in. Can you come look for my glasses, Fabian? Look for my glasses so I can make sure he's not coming in. If it fell over there when he scaffold.
Watch your car. Make sure he's not doing anything.
Oh, I'll fucking mad.
Don't go outside. Just look.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. If you're just joining us, you're watching HCN. And here at HCN, we promote development, education, culture, and tradition. If you just joined us, you're welcome once again. Let me give you a little bit of background to what you saw. And these are not just background, but just some few tidbits for which reason we're going to be building our discussion today on. So sometime in 2016, the two most important characters that you saw in that video, the pastor, who is Pastor Sylvester Fori, and the wife, Barbara Tommy, had a little bit of a scuffle, some sort of a fight. And then the police was called to kind of like separate or at least bring some sort of resolution. Unfortunately, the pastor that you saw in that video resisted arrest. And so a court actually summoned him for resisting arrest. Now, shortly after that, in 2016, Pastor Fori begins writing threatful FB messages suggesting that Barbara was the one who opted out of the marriage, the whole relationship. Now, 3 months to her death, and don't forget, she died sometime second week of September. So 3 months prior to her death, Barbara refused to report death threat to the police, even after she had been informed or advised by family and friends and, other people in close relationship with her to report the case of abuse that she was facing by the husband, but she refused to do so. I'm not here, and ACN is not here to blame anyone. We are just trying to put things in a proper context so we can understand how as the discussion goes on. Now, the couple were separated, and for which reason Barbara lived in a totally different place, but still had access to the apartment where the both of them had, shared more or less the lease. Now, a day prior to her death, again as seen in the video, Barbara pleads with her sister and her brother not to call the police and report the incidents for fear that the husband will be deported back to Ghana. Now, CCTV camera captures Ofori as he shoots Barbara to death on September 8th. Now, Ofori did fear so much that he had to do what he did because he thought that if they ever have to divorce, then he was going to lose probably the properties that the two of them had shared throughout their marriage. They did not have a child. Just remember that. Now, on a very sad note, and on behalf of ACN, we wish to say that may Barbara Tommy's soul rest in perfect peace. But from information that we gathered from BBC and myjournalonline.com, she will be buried on September 26th. May her soul rest in perfect peace. Now, to join us today in the discussion, we have Reverend Martin Osei. He has been here before. He is the head pastor of the Ghanaian Community Presbyterian Church. He's here to give us a little more factual information, being a priest. And as we deal with the priest in this contest, he will give us a little bit of detail as to, the twist to pastoralism and what it is when it comes to domestic violence. Again, next to him is Dr. Oyang Kasola Tinedu, who is with the Honey Drop Group, a community advocates group that has been in existence since 2016 and preaching all the good news against domestic violence. I'm sure she'll give us a little bit more detail about herself. So, Reverend, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much,
Doctor, you're also welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. One quick thing. Can you give me, and I'll start with Dr. Sola.
Yes, sir.
Can you give me a little bit of your take on the video that you saw?
It's all too familiar for me. That's all I can say. It's all too familiar for me because I've been a community advocate in the city of Dallas since 2016, and I have seen and heard and been a part of several different judicial processes for people who have been victims. Some survivors and some not so lucky.
Oh.
It's too familiar, and that's just the same mindset of a person who is in this type of situation. They always end up being the person who's advocating for their abuser. And it's so sad that this always happens, and for some reason it goes beyond just the incidents that we see and the things that we experience. This is a mindset shift that has been happening over time. And getting to the point where it becomes very violent and very volatile, that is the end stages. So when we look at women like this deceased woman who we say, oh, why did she not take it seriously? We have to understand that she had been married to this man. And over the years and the time that she has spent with him, she had been undergoing several conditionings that has made her somewhat comfortable with the situation, whereby she doesn't quite have the discernment and the ability to identify because she is in the situation. Unfortunately, she died, and she's not able to make it out of the situation, which is the case of 1 in 2 women in the United States, unfortunately.
Well, unfortunately, that's the situation. We still want to say rest in peace to her, and may so rest with the Lord. Pastor Martin, can you give us your opening comment about the video you saw?
Right away you see a dysfunctional family. The family is the fiber of any society. Healthy families make healthy societies. But having said that, there are families that have dysfunction. This clearly is one stemming out of anger and whatever else the underlying factors were. But more so troubling is that this was a servant of God. And that is mind-boggling. That's not to say that pastors are perfect, but they should know better. With the scriptures and everything that you stand in the pulpit to teach, and you teach the love of God, nowhere in the prescription or the characteristic of love should you be so angry that you sin. Jesus said, be angry, but sin not, right? Paul enjoins us and describes perfectly what love is. You know, love is patient. Love is kind. Love is long-suffering. Love does not hold a grudge. So it makes you wonder where this pastor's heart is, that the very things that he knows that maybe have taught, that he would go so far as so contrary against those fundamental principles of love. And culturally and traditionally, as a man, you don't lay your hand on a woman. In the African context, that is weakness. It is only weak men who lay their hands on a woman. If you are that strong, why don't go fight your co-equal, another man? You know, so...
Well, he had the lady's brother there. I wish he had
Right.
tried
He
it.
couldn't step up to him.
Yeah. But very troubling at all angles. Culturally, you know, when you look at biblical principles, everything was violated, and it makes you wonder what were the underlying factors and who were the people around him. Who are his accountability partners? Who are his mentors? Who are the people around this pastor who saw this behavior and characteristic traits and never pulled him aside to help him? You know, so clearly he needed help too.
All right. Thank you so very much, Pastor. Indeed, this discussion is going to get really heated. You know, to have Doctor here, to have Reverend here, I just can't wait. Hey, if you just joined us, again, you are still watching ACN. This is the Dot Stream, and it's about to really get deep. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this short commercial break.
Our culture, traditions, and education is gradually diminishing in our community. Here at HCN, we are determined to explore, to learn, and to promote indigenous African culture, which is the value of we, the African people. Traditions, the consciousness of our heritage in our food, music, marriage, our beautiful languages, and most importantly, our religion. Join me here on Heroes Cable Network as we take an educational journey to explore, a journey to unveil the untold stories of Africa. HCN, our goal is to elevate and celebrate our culture, traditions, education, and development in our community. My name is Sakosia. Explore African culture and traditions with us here on Heroes Cable Network. HCN, we are one.
My name is Pastor Martin Osai, and I'm delighted to join you this evening from the studio of Heroes Cable Network. Heroes Cable Network is a community multimedia production and studio that is geared towards empowering our community in the areas of tradition, culture, education, and development. All of our programming and segments are going to be along those lines. I want to invite you to join me with the education segment that is upcoming. and we're going to be looking at education and careers. That is an important area in our community. How to guide our young people into the right careers of the future. Today, science, technology, engineering, and math hold great careers of the future. And to channel our young people into those careers. It used to be that when we think about math and science and all these things, we thought it was the most difficult areas, or maybe we think of some old man in a science lab in a lab coat. But today the careers in science, technology, engineering, and math are everyday careers. From food nutrition, food science, to sound energy, and so on and so forth. Just there is plethora of careers that are in these fields, and those are some of the high-paying careers also for our young people. And I will be doing a special segment, so I want you to be looking for that to come up here on the Heroes Cable Network. We will be talking specifically about what kind of courses will land us those jobs. It will even surprise you that some of those six-figure jobs, six-figure paying careers may not even require a full college degree, but some certification and specialized training. I would come to you live with these information and these types of programs that are out there for our young people. And we want to educate our community about these things and how we as parents and as community can begin to navigate our children through these programs and ensure that they land the careers of their passion, the careers of their choice, and the careers that will build for them a great future. And that means a great future for our community. Thank you very much. HCN, we are one.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, again to HCN, and you're watching the Dot Stream. We are here today with Reverend Martin Osei and Dr. Oyinka Sola, giving us a little bit of details about what it is that we saw in the previous video. My name is Nana J. Now let's go straight into the discussion proper and try to situate the whole video that we saw in a proper context. And so I'm going to go ahead and ask my first question to Dr. Sola. When we say domestic violence, what do we really mean by it?
Domestic violence, it spans in so many areas. Mm-hmm. It's just the ability of one individual to inflict some type of pain or discomfort onto another, either physically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, financially. So there's so many ways that this can be done. Physical is actually the most commonly identified one, because that's the one that we hear and we see.
Yeah, I was about to ask if you take away the physical aspect, can we still consider the others? Because most people don't think that once they're not physically, touched or beaten or, whatever, then it doesn't.
Physical abuse is the most commonly identified one, but it doesn't actually run as deep as the emotional, the psychological. It's the mind. When somebody messes with your mind, regardless of whether you get out or you're in the situation, that person tends to hold control indefinitely over the other individual. And emotional abuse takes a longer time to get over. Physical abuse can inflict physical pain. In some cases, end the person's life, and that's it. But honestly, there are worse things than being dead in many cases.
So like being totally distraught with emotional
being
trauma,
broken down mentally and not living a life that you're supposed to live, just living as a shadow of yourself, and just that is like living in hell and you're alive. And a lot of women and some men, actually, that is their daily routine, unfortunately.
Daily routine, you said?
Yes, because domestic violence is not an incident. It's the pattern in the lives of people. It's a lifestyle, so it's something that people have to live with on a daily basis. And for some, even when they do get out of the situation, they end up still dealing with the residue of the problem for years and years later. which impacts their relationships in the future, impacts how they raise their children, impacts their achievement in life, and how they see themselves, and so much more.
We're going to go a bit more deeper into what the ramification or the effect of the emotional aspect is. As you said, the emotional aspect takes longer to heal or to wipe off or to get over than it is with the physical, because maybe with the physical you can get some sort of help. But I might want to ask Reverend Osei, are there any signs of an abusive partner as a pastor when somebody is coming to you with their wives to be or their fiancés looking to settle down? Are you able to really tell that this person, by his looks or appearance, could?
Appearances are deceiving. And you cannot judge a book by its cover.
Yeah.
It's not always that you see somebody and you can say this person is abusive. But in the realm of pastoral care, there is also what we call discernment. When, as a pastor and as a person who is a spiritual leader, you have discernment. I've had opportunity to counsel a lot of young people, and going back to what Dr. Yinka Shola said, that emotional trauma stems out of the communication, the words that are used. What kind of words are you communicating to one another? Communication is a big part of marital counseling in terms of how do we communicate with each other, how do we present ourselves to one another in the way we interact and we talk to one another. If your language is negative, then you are really sowing seeds of negativity in your relationship. As husbands and wives, how do we speak to one another? Do we speak kindly, or do we speak to one another with no respect? So words are very, very powerful. What we speak has effect and has impact on people. But going back to your question, you can never tell if I'm counseling two young people who are planning to get married. I am not in that relationship, but I would want to pose thought-provoking questions about how they communicate with each other. How does she treat you, the man, and how does the man treat you? There are questions that I would ask that will give me some insight as to how they treat each other and how they are relating with one another in terms of their communication. If through my discernment I sense there is something there that needs to be looked at, then that will be the next step of, talking about, well, what makes you say or do this? So
at that point, do you sort of break the whole procedure of counseling prior to marriage and say, okay, if the woman is the one telling you this sort of information, or if the man, then okay, let's sit. Hey, can I have a chat with you? Can we do this, or can we make this happen another time? Where you get the opportunity to then invite that partner who supposedly is appearing to say such, and then you kind of like go a bit more into details. Is that what you do?
It really is the wise thing to do. If you discern that there is an issue going on, and you come to the discernment of the source of it, you don't want to just say something superficial. You want to find out what is the root cause. Sometimes people behave in a way that they were raised. If they were born with an abusive father, then they also think it's okay to abuse their wife. If a daughter, I have two girls, if they see me abuse their mother, if they see me verbally abuse her or cause her emotional trauma, they think it's okay for a man to treat them like that. And when they get into a relationship and a young man is treating them that way, they feel, oh, that's the norm, that's what I saw growing up. And some boys too have seen this in their homes, and therefore they think it's okay to treat their wives or their girlfriends like that. So when you discover these things in the way you interact with the young people, then you want to set them apart and really talk to whoever is the victim of such abuse and begin to address that. I would rather you do not get married to somebody who is going to abuse you the rest of your life if you can detect it soon enough to not even get into it.
Yeah, that's good.
Imagine if Reverend Ofori and his wife, you know, through whatever counseling they went to, this came up in their courtship.
Yeah.
A wise spiritual leader might counsel them to hold off and wait until they are ready.
Yeah, I was going to go quickly to Dr. Oyinkansola, but then you made mention of something that I want me to ask again. Do you think that as pastors, whoever they might have gone through the counseling session with them would really take them through it, or would assume that, well, this is a pastor and so he's good, you know, he's clean, he would not do something like that, and so they will escape, or probably, you know, do you think that is...
Well, that is a very good point. Many times we have put, you know, pastors on this pedestal. You know, we think, oh, because he's a pastor, so he must be perfect. You know, they are human too. You know, so whoever is counseling, even if it's a pastor, he should have accountability partners in his life. He should have somebody who can speak to him as is. Somebody who can tell it to him as is, not because he's a pastor, then suddenly he has some kind of a halo around him where even if he's wrong, we cannot say it, you know. Okay, so accountability person in life is very important. Hey, if you're still watching us, you are on the dot stream on ACN. And let me go quickly to Dr. Oyinkansola.
Yes, sir.
By your practice and advocacy, when do you think a loving relationship can get abusive? When is that transition period? And in that case, do you think somebody would do something wrong, or somebody would trigger something, and so you move from a whole beautiful relationship into like, bam, next chapter?
To be very honest, this is what I have found to be the truth. Abuse is what abuse is what an abuser does. Love is what a loving person does.
Oh, these are wonderful quotes.
That is just that you are a representation of what you have. You can't give out what you don't have. And I'm going to piggyback on what Reverend said. And that is actually the backbone of our organization. Our mission is to help elevate, empower, and educate youth and families to live beyond domestic violence. And we carefully selected these words, placing the youth before the family, because when I got into the community advocacy line in the city of Dallas, I quickly identified that there is a lot of reactive solutions that we have. We have shelters, we have the justice system, we have resources, counseling, and all of that. But one thing that was significantly missing was proactive resources, proactive solutions to help our children escape, if by any chance at all, the pitfall of either becoming abusers themselves or actually being the ones that receive the abuse. So this we try to do through education, changing the mindset of our children. You know, children, these days, the whole system of the world is set up where abnormality has been twisted to be normal. So we have abnormal norms. Abnormal norms, and that's in my first book. Abnormal norms, and we have come to embrace it. We have become desensitized, and that's what happens to someone who is a victim. They become desensitized over time. So they enter into this relationship. Initially, it appears to be loving and kind and generous. And they say, oh, he loves me. That's why he always wants to know what I'm doing. He loves me. That's why he's jealous. That's why he wants to be the only person that is involved in my life. He wants to be the one to make decisions for me because he loves me. Oh, no, you don't understand. That's how he shows his love. And those are the ways that the abuser desensitizes the abused person. So by the time the transition happens, it's not a swift change like, oh, no. It's just a progression. It's like you're going through levels. They start off level 1. They bring in the things that you are used to, the loving situations that you will accept normally. And then they begin to introduce those abnormal situations, and then they now piggyback and explain it with the love that they had offered you. And then mentally they are programming you, over time. And eventually you begin to see what they're doing as it's okay. It's not a bad situation. It's not as bad. I don't think he will ever hurt me. He doesn't mean to hurt me. Oh my God. He hit me once. It was an accident and he apologized. And he was crying. I mean, I've pretty much heard it all. So it's very heartbreaking. And our children, I think, for me, I have a deep passion for our youth. Because I feel like they're the ones that need this more than ever before. Not to say I'm giving up on the adults and the people that are already in situations, but I feel like there's enough resources for them. And to begin to, it's like you're trying to rebuild a house. To begin to rebuild it from the roof, you have to build it from the bottom. So it's called like living beyond the norms from the bottom up. You're breaking that cycle, and we need to break it from the bottom. So that way we don't end up producing young men and young women who continue to perpetuate this cycle of abuse. Because for years it's been talked about, so many lives have been lost, situations have happened, resources have been expended in abundant numbers, you know, but we still have the same issue. So what are we not doing? We need to go back and revisit our solutions and try something different so that we can produce adults who are focusing more on the positive norms that build a strong family unit as opposed to the negative norms that they are used to in the family.
All right. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, you are still watching HCN, and thank you so much, Dr. Yinka Sola, for that, you know, very fruitful response. I need to remind you, ladies and gentlemen, that this show is currently live on Facebook, and you just have to go to Facebook, search HCN, click on our subscribe button, click on the notification button, just watch us live, send us your comments, your information. Later on, after the show is done, the show would be posted on YouTube, and again on YouTube, it's going to be on HCN. Just hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button, and anything that, you know, dumps in here, you'll be notified about it. Let me go quickly to our Facebook page and then read some comments from our viewers. And you can also send in your comment as well. So this is going to be from Patrick Senyor Adjadu, and he says, rather unfortunate this happened to such a lady. I was in this kind of situation for such a long time. And this is a man.
Oh, yes. Yes. I have men who have come across to me. They are gradually coming out. Initially, it was a thing where I couldn't even find one man who would be willing to speak with me regarding this issue. But over the years being in this community, I have actually had a good number of men who have become a part of my organization, who have testified, and their own stories are so much more heartbreaking because the stature of a man is such that he's not the one that should be attacked. He should be the strong pillar. And you would be amazed the extent to which men undergo abuse, physical, emotional, and
Okay, well, that's back to the initial fact sheet that we mentioned. It was 1 out of 18 men and 1 out of 7 women. So that shouldn't be a surprise. But again, it's very intriguing to hear that details. Thank you for watching again on HCN. Let me finish up with another comment from another viewer. And this is from AC Dell, and she says, the pastor got himself involved with the wrong people who were trying to convert him from Christianity to consciousness. This whole consciousness awakening paradigm, well, this is AC's ideas and perspective. He got messed up along the line, became frustrated and jealous of his own wife. That could be. Possibly. Okay, thank you again for your comments, and keep your comments coming in. I'm going to read them right here and share with everybody else, and keep watching HCN. Before we leave out for a quick commercial break, I want to ask Reverend this very important question. Can love and forgiveness really be the whole sequel to this situation?
That is a very difficult question to answer. Where there is love, there is no hate. So if there is true love, then where lies that hate that emanates out of it? The point of the viewer about the influence. Sometimes the people we surround ourselves with pollute us. Be careful who you have in your inner circle. You know, this is a man of God, but from some of the things that we have heard about him, he seemed to be going a wrong path. In fact, there was a recent WhatsApp video of a pastor who had preached in his church and started seeing the kind of messages he was preaching and tried to reach out to him, but he would not. So he noticed that this man was going the wrong way. Some of the things he started preaching just did not align with scripture. You know, so sometimes in the desire for fame, people lose their bearing and try to seek other things, and everything we need is right here in this word. You know, and it bothers me that sometimes, even within the pastoral hierarchy, there are some false prophets. Jesus warned us of them. You know, you have these false prophets who come. I don't see how somebody can tell another man, a pastor, that his wife is a witch.
Yeah, and that was one of the key things that, you know, I also saw, and I'm like, if you're a pastor, and I know prophets and pastors, they heal, right?
Yes.
You have, sometimes you watch videos or you know, YouTube clips, and you have masses of people gathered in stadiums and stadiums, and pastors are healing them. And so
I've had this
if
personal experience.
Yeah.
If you say your wife is a witch, what do? You need to heal
why
your
don't
wife.
you engage in some kind of
And deliver her.
prayer time
Yes.
and fasting and praying and deliver her from whatever it is that is going on.
I mean,
or whoever this so-called prophet is, why don't you help this couple if you think there is such an issue? You know? So we have to be careful the people we listen to and the false messages we allow to enter into, you know, our system. We have to guard our hearts against deception. And it's happening a lot in Christendom, where there is so much deception that people have forgotten to go back to the good book themselves. If a prophet tells me anything, it better be something I already know about, that God is impressed on me, and therefore if they prophesy something to me, it should be a confirmation of what God has already told me about. For you to come and tell me, I love my mother. There are people who have lost relationship with their mothers today because some so-called prophet told them their mother is a witch. And now your mother who bore you 9 months, who raised you no longer talk to your mother. And that is such foolishness. There is a fine line between faith and foolishness. And a lot of even pastors are going into that arena of foolishness instead of faith.
Well, we will be delving a bit more into who to bring in and who not to bring into our relationships, be it just a boy-girlfriend relationship or, you know, a marriage relationship. We'll do that right after this commercial break. We'll be right back.
Virtual Ghana Fest 2020, showing live on HCN. COGA, the Council of Ghanaian Associations, Dallas Fort Worth, in collaboration with its member associations, present the 3rd Annual Ghana Fest 2020, showcasing our cultural and traditional dance and displays, fashion show, musical performances, and our local businesses. Call the number on the screen to promote your products and services. Virtual Ghana Fest 2020. Let us celebrate our culture, traditions, education, and development in our community.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, again to HCN, and you're watching the Dot Stream, and today's discussion is about to love or to kill. I guess you've already followed it, so you already know what the discussion is all about. And thank again Dr. Oyinka Sola for making time with us, and again Reverend Martin Osai, for helping us with this really true conversation and discussion about this sort of thing. We proceed with the whole conversation, and again you can still watch us on Facebook and follow us, subscribe, hit the notification button. Bring us your comments, you read it and share it with everyone who is watching this today. So, Dr. Oyinka Sola.
Yes, sir.
What do you do as a partner when you are abused in a relationship?
Are you saying what are you supposed to do?
What are you
or what do
supposed to do?
people generally do? Because those are two different things, and they're both
you
real.
give us the two responses.
So what are you supposed to do as opposed to what people do? What people do typically is stay in the situation, and then they get out if they get help, and then they go back and they try to get them out. Somebody tries to get them out because help is always available. The domestic violence hotline is always available for you to reach. The police, yes, as much as there's a lot of controversy with the police in the community right now, but in the city of Dallas, I can tell you that the police is actively working to respond to situations of domestic violence. And we actually saw a spike, like it was like a 100% spike in the reports that were received during the COVID lockdown.
COVID-19.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Domestic violence was at an all-time high. So there is help out there. But now what do people normally do? They stay in the situation. They try to manage the situation. Let me bring it home to Africans in the diaspora. We have a lot of cultural limitations that keeps our people in situations that they're not supposed to be in. With a lot of respect to the clergy, Reverend, our pastors, our men of faith, in my opinion, have not done enough to help our community. They have been very silent and complacent. And in many cases that I have personally been a part of, they have been encouraging to perpetrate this because they claim and they stand behind faith, what God wants. Look, this is my thing. I'm a Christian. But God does not want his children in situations that will endanger their lives. That's not his will. And they say this is the most popular phrase: God hates divorce. Are you God? Did he tell you that? I'm sorry. I am very outspoken on these issues. There are situations where people have to take ownership. Our people don't take enough ownership. This woman did not take ownership of her well-being. She left it to fate, and look at what fate dealt her.
She did not want the name of the family that
it's the same thing. You don't take ownership because guess what? The family is still going on. The name of the family is being dragged in all types of mud, and it's never going to go away. Fortunately, she doesn't have children, so there is no continuity in that mess. But the families are going to have to deal with this for the rest of their lives. But if she had been proactive enough, and may her soul rest in peace, you never speak ill of the dead. However, in the community that I deal with, if a person who is in a domestic violence situation is proactive enough to try to see outside of the situation, not seeing within, because when you are in the mess, it's hard for you to be able to sort through the mess. You have to bring yourself out of it. And then that's when you can actively find the help that you need. So what people do as opposed to what they're supposed to do is always a contradiction. And in most cases, it's always to the point where the life is almost lost. The person is almost at the end of their rope, or in some cases, they actually just die before they actually finally get out of this thing.
Be proactive, Dr. Oyinka Sola says. But there was one thing that she said I really, really want to ask Pastor Martin. So, Pastor Martin, in our African tradition, we know and we translate this is the test of your faith in a totally different light.
Right.
Oh, God is testing you to see if you really love this man or woman. Oh, God is testing you to see if you can stay in this relationship or this marriage. Oh, God is testing you to see if you can stay, then he will give you a child. And then maybe when a child comes in, your husband or your wife would stop.
Well, there is the scripture that says the blessing of the Lord, does not add sorrow.
Amen.
When God blesses you, he does not add pain and sorrow to that blessing.
Yes.
So, and my sister is right. The clergy have not responded and be proactive enough to deal with issues in families. It's not enough to stand in the pulpit and preach on Sunday. The real ministry is the pastoral care that is provided for families. I can't begin to tell you how many times I have gone to sit down with couples late at night to help mitigate situations that are going on, you know, and when I do that, I maintain an objective stand. I don't go, you know, trying to support the man or support the woman, but look at the situation.
This should be the standard,
and help
right?
them, right? And help them to resolve issues, you know. So probably it's also because of my background as an educator. I go into this situation wanting to educate both of them. So we need to be more proactive as pastors in the community, not just interested in what happens on Sunday, but what is happening from Monday to Sunday. What is happening in those homes? How involved are you in your community? How involved are you in your church family? You know, and sometimes there's those telltale signs that you can even see at church. Suddenly the man is not coming to church, or they come to church but they are not talking. Look for those signs that will make you be proactive to get in and begin to ask those probing questions. You know, what is going on? How can I support you? How can I help you? Oftentimes I ask people randomly, what's going on in your world? How can I be praying for you? Right? So being that involved in your church family is critical in being able to know if something is going wrong.
Pastor Martin, but how about this context of people saying that prayer is really the solution to the potential, you know, solution that we all, you know, desire? Like, just pray.
That is the mindset of many, but we cannot pray without taking action. Right? Prayer, there is a place for prayer. There is also a place for, you know, common sense approach to situations
I
and
like
solutions.
that,
right?
I really
so
like that.
it's not everything that has to be spiritualized. And unfortunately, we have spiritualized everything. If my child is misbehaving, we spiritualize it. You know, if there is some problem in the family, we quickly, what are the practical solutions? What are the common sense approaches to solving that? If it's a teenage child that I'm having issues with, I need to know what is happening in those teenage years. There are going to be some resistance and revolt with your teenager. Understand that. That is just the nature of the growth and development taking place in that teenager's life. What you need to do is to show love to that young man or young woman in your house and let them know you love them no matter what, right? And be able to speak into their life. Let them know they can come to you and talk to you. Recently, I was driving with my daughter. You know, she recently started working, and we were talking, and I said, you know, if anything bothers you, you can come to me and talk to me, right? Do not keep anything that, you know, I'm here as your father. I'm here to nurture you. I'm here to guide you until you are an adult to go on your own. So if anything bothers you, I should be the first person you should come to. Don't be afraid. So we have to, as pastors, be involved. Treat your church members like, you know, they are your family, right? And be involved. For far too long, we have spiritualized too many things to where we fail to look at what practical approaches can we take. Even if there is a need for going to outside third-party resource, if it is counseling that is needed, you know, sometimes it's not spiritual. It could be just a professional counselor that can come in and speak.
Actually,
so we have
I was about to ask a quick follow-up question on what you think is the support that the church provides or could provide to people in that situation. And in my opinion, we ought not to wait until that situation even comes into the whole perspective. It should be some sort of an ongoing platform or support that we can provide to both married and not married, you know, members of our church. Is there anything like that churches ought to consider, or is already in the system but probably is not well practicalized?
Not enough, right? There is not enough where we have forums for people to freely talk. You know, if we have marriage counseling sessions, or we have marriage seminars, or we have marriage forums. We had one last year where we invited an expert who came, and it was a beautiful time of fellowship where, you know, it was a forum that the women could ask their questions without being afraid of, you know, their husband saying, hey, you shouldn't have said this, the men, and creating those opportunities for dialogue, those opportunities for conversation. You know, the young adults who are, you know, they've just come out of college, they've started having children, those people need to be taken care of. Your teenagers that are in your church. So what am I saying? That we need to look at the entire church family and meet the needs of everyone where they are. You know, there is what they call the golden rule. Yeah. Someone said, you know, instead of the golden rule, there is what they call the platinum rule. Golden rule says, do unto others what, you know, you want them to do to you.
Yes.
But then we need to change our mindsets to do unto others what they want to be done to them. Where are they in their growth and development? What do they need? What tools can we give them as pastors? And we don't have all the answers, but a smart pastor can bring in resources to the church. Yes. A smart pastor can find somebody who can come and speak to their young people. And those are the things that at the Ghanaian Community Presbyterian Church we are very adamant about. And there are so many things we want to even do this year that COVID has kind of held us back. But you know, last year we did a marriage seminar, and we're going to continue and do retreats. Sometimes people just need to leave their familiar environment. Couples retreat. Get away from home for a weekend. Go to a place. Have a good time. Maybe during that time, recreational, have some, you know, workshops for husbands, workshops for wives, and then bring them all together, you know, for teenagers. So having these types of programs help make a healthy church. And if the church is healthy, the community is healthy, the households are healthy.
Yeah. I mean, it still baffles my mind to really consider Pastor Ofori as an individual entity where he has close to over 55,000 followers on Facebook alone. And whenever he's on stage delivering messages, you could see what is happening. And if all of these that Reverend Martin just mentioned was something that existed in his church, then it's a totally whole deviation, you know, totally whole new deviation altogether. But let's proceed with the conversation. We're still watching ACN here. In ACN, we promote development and education and culture as well as tradition. I would like to ask Dr. Oyinka Sola.
Yes.
So apart from all the stuff that Reverend has mentioned within the church, you know, fraternity, if I can put it that way, what other resources can family and friends really provide to people who find themselves in this situation? What has been your experience over the period?
So my experience has been when situations like this come up in African and diaspora community, as a community, family, friends tend to want to mitigate the situation by appealing to both sides to try to work it out. In most cases, that doesn't help much. And then when the church is brought in, it's still the same method of pastors just trying to put a band-aid to say, okay, they don't want to lose their members, and they don't want stuff that would happen in the church that would rock the boat too much. So they try to manage the situation whereby they're asking the one who is offended to forgive, and the one who is the offender to say, we're going to pray, we're going to fast, and we're going to talk to you about how to change, you know, this lifestyle and this pattern. But then when it becomes a pattern, I feel like the family, the community, the church needs to be able to come together and identify this is not a healthy situation. We have to figure out a way to, first of all, preserve the individuals in the situation. Not preserve them as a whole, but preserve them separately. Hopefully trying to get help for the one that needs the help, and trying to see how that help can improve what is on ground. And there's a lot of resources.
In that situation, are we not putting, kind of like dividing what ought to be?
In some cases, there has to be division for people to come back together. Separation is not a bad thing.
Which is the case of what happened.
Yeah, separation is never a bad thing. And in the time of separation, there has to be a protocol in place. And when I say a protocol in place, so while you're separated, you're not just separated, living in different households and just trying to see if the person is going to change. You have to engage active resources that can help. If that's what you are both interested in, that means go for counseling. If the person needs any type of help, you know, there's always an underlying issue to what makes a person into who they are. We don't just come out and just be. It's nature and nurture working together to form our philosophies, to form our personalities, to form our character traits. So those are things that need to be dealt with. It's a very, very, it's like opening a Pandora's box. But I would say it's better for us to open the Pandora's box and try to get help. And in the case where the help fails, try to see, okay, well, maybe this is, because honestly, Reverend can attest this, there's a lot of marriages that come together that honestly, they're not supposed to be together. They're not supposed to be a couple. Their personalities, their compatibility is not what they're supposed to have. Their types of personalities clash so much. So there's several different things that play into this issue of domestic violence, and takes us back to where now as a community, as a church, as families, we need to be very intentional about helping our young people learn these things early enough.
Collective responsibility.
Yes, let us teach them. Our young boys, a lot of young boys enter college and they come out with a criminal record for doing things that they did not even know was a crime. They were not aware.
No education.
Nobody taught them. They're in a place where they're free, no parent guidance, no supervision, so they just do whatever. And then they end up with a record that messes up their whole pathway in life, because they found themselves in a situation where they didn't even know they were in a wrong situation.
So what you're looking to really establish is there should be some sort of a platform to educate, inform, consistently.
We need to have more of these conversations.
The right
We need to have more of these conversations. There's no right or wrong way. I don't have all the answers. Reverend doesn't have all the answers. Nobody has all the answers, because guess what? The stories of domestic violence are so different. But a lot of times the outcome is what brings the unity. Everybody ends up in the same place. But the individual scenarios are very different. So having these conversations, especially in our community as Africans, we need to take the shame away. When a woman cries out for help, let's stop ostracizing them. We alienate them. We make them feel like they are not good home keepers. You didn't keep your marriage, you didn't keep your home, you didn't manage your situation. Let us stop the shaming, first of all, so that more people can come out. There's a lot of people dying from this. They're not speaking up because they know that when they speak up, the community is going to turn their back on them. So Africans, we need to do better to help our people.
Good. On that note, we'll be ending the show pretty shortly. I'd like to thank you very much if you're still watching us on ACN live on Facebook. And why don't you just go ahead, as soon as this show ends, subscribe to our Facebook page, hit the notification button, go all the way to YouTube, subscribe to our channel on HCN, and again hit the notification button. Whenever we produce anything new, you're going to be the first to be notified. Let me go on with the comment on Facebook. We have 2 more, and then we'll gradually bring the show to an end. So this is from Kojo, and then he says, thanks for this conversation. Kojo, is that all that you could write? Write more next time. We have one from Apala, and then she says, yes, they want to pray, which is, in my opinion, in relation to what pastors do in such situations when, you know, couples come to, or one member of the couple comes to say, hey, this is what my husband or my wife did, and say, oh, don't worry, just take it to prayers. It's going to be fine. You are still here watching the Dot Stream. Today's topic, the hot one, and I am Nana J. We're going to be right back. We're going to conclude the whole show. Go nowhere. We'll be right back.
Our culture, traditions, and education is gradually diminishing in our community. Here at HCN, we are determined to explore, to learn, and to promote indigenous African culture, which is the value of we, the African people. Traditions, the consciousness of our heritage in our food, music, marriage, our beautiful languages, and most importantly, our religion. Join me here on Heroes Cable Network as we take an educational journey to explore, a journey to unveil the untold stories of Africa. HCN, our goal is to elevate and celebrate our culture, traditions, education, and development in our community. My name is Sakosia. Explore African culture and traditions with us here on Heroes Cable Network. HCN, we are one.
Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Again, you're watching the Dot Stream on HCN, and here on HCN we promote education, tradition, culture, and most importantly, development. On our conversation today, the topic, a very hot one, to love and to kill. Interesting. We've had in the studio Reverend Martin Osei from the Ghana Community Presbyterian Church and Dr. Oyinka Sola, who is the chair or the leader of Honey Drop advocacy group here in Texas. And all we've been looking to do is to establish really the landmarks and the yardsticks surrounding domestic violence. We do understand that this topic is really huge and big, and for that reason we cannot use one show to fully exhaust the duties of it. But I'm pretty sure that upon watching whatever you've heard from our panelists today, you've learned your lessons. Gradually we are coming to the end of the show, but before we do so, we will take the very final words from our guest, and I would like to start with the lady first. So Dr. Oyinka Sola, what would be your advice to the young men and women in serious relationships, one, regarding abuse and violence? And what would be, again, your advice to those already married and for whatever reason are already experiencing, tidbits of these already?
So to those who are married and already experiencing this, there's a lot of help out there for you. There's so many people. It's like a huge army of advocates who are just waiting to get your call and to get you the help that you need. Don't stay silent. Make the call. Reach out for help. Don't stay silent. Oh, he did it once. It's never going to happen again. Don't take anything for granted. Please get the help that you need. Call the domestic violence hotline. I don't have the number off the top of my head, but Siri and Google, it's actually a resource that you can say, Siri, call the domestic violence hotline. And in situations where it's so bad where you don't even have the confidence to speak freely, call a friend. When you call the domestic violence hotline, there are code words that you can use, like you're ordering some food. It's something that was put together by the Domestic Violence Coalition. When someone is calling for help and in a very dangerous situation and they're not able to specifically state what is happening, you call the domestic violence hotline and order some pizza for delivery and stay on the phone, put your order in, and the other person on the line already knows what is happening. And they're going to keep you on the line to get your location and tell them you want whatever it is that you want on a menu. Order some food. That is sustenance. That is help coming your way.
Yeah.
So if you're in a dangerous situation, there's hope. There's always a way out of it. Now, for young people who are in relationships or trying to get into relationships, I would say there's several things that allows you to identify a potentially harmful situation. And I'm going to mention some common 5 things. If the person is constantly talking down at you, they always want to bring you down, like your opinion does not really matter. That's a really negative sign. If the person makes very expensive jokes at your expense, that is a negative sign. If the person does not want you to have friends, wants to cut you off, and they do it systemically. It's like systemic racism. It's systemic isolation. That's something that you need to be mindful of. If they are very, very possessive, those are not good traits. It's not a sign of love. Even God gives us a free will. So why would another human being want to control another? So those are some of the things that young people can look out for in identifying partners who have some traits of being eventually potentially dangerous for them. So, and then just asking the right questions. You know, for men, I believe it's very important for a young man to have mentors in his life. If the mentor is his father, is, you know, somebody who he's accountable to. A young man who is not accountable to anybody is a man who cannot be trusted. Period. And women as well. You know, we have our own cases and problems as well. A woman who is overly demanding, that's not a good thing. You know, a person who wants you to go out of your way to do things that don't come naturally to you. There's so many ways, but our young people definitely, I believe there's hope and there's light at the end of the tunnel for you. So for us, this generation and generations that have come before us, it's on us to help educate these young people and to play a very active role in their lives, to help them choose wisely, to help guide and direct them, to help mentor them. Like Reverend said, it all starts with love. When somebody knows you love them, they would always tend to listen and consider you in all matters.
That's true. Well, you heard it from the doctor herself, and I think it's fully exhaustive. I need not summarize that. Reverend Osei, what will be yours? Again, to the same parameters that we established for.
So I do want to say that as the church community, we need to be more proactive in mitigating some of these abuse situations, domestic violence in our churches. If we know about it, not only should we pray, but we should also seek help. We should seek resources. There are resources out there that can help families. So as a leader of a church, know the resources in your community. There are places to go. There are lists of them. Have those on your fingertips. So based on what is going on in a family or in a situation, you are able to direct them to resources. Education is key. You know, I want to give this illustration that many times as the church, we are healing broken lives. The lives that has already been broken. I want you to picture a cliff. The role of the church is to go up on that cliff and build a barrier, a defense. Here in the valley, the lives are already broken, and we are mending them. We are here, like first aid, mending them, putting band-aid on situations. But let's shift our focus to the young people who we can prevent by building that barrier through education, through mentoring, you know, so that we save them from being here where we are mending the lives. And that, if we begin to focus our attention on our young people, our youth, and preventing them from coming to where we are mending lives, we will be doing a great service to society. We will be building healthy families, and the society, the moral fiber of every society is the families.
Wow, what a wonderful note to end the conversation. Really, on behalf of ACN and our viewers, we would like to say a big thank you to Reverend Martin Osei and Dr. Oyinka Sola.
Thank you for having us.
I did not know that you have such a strong movement, and I also did not know that the Ghana Community Presbyterian Church had some resources to support. And I guess that most of our African, you know, churches also do have some sort of resources to provide their members of such similar cases. My lessons that I learned, ladies and gentlemen: be proactive when abused. Look for proactive signs. You have a boyfriend, you have a girlfriend, you have a wife, you have a husband. They probably are doing stuff that you know is not right. Just look for those signs and be proactive to those. Now, stop the shaving. Stop trying to make it look like he's the perfect man, he's the perfect woman. Seek help when you see these, you know, signs, especially when you are being abused. And with all that, remember that there are education and there are education in your community. There are people to mentor you, seek help when you think you are in trouble. Most importantly, do not forget to call the hotline. And I was so happy when Dr. Yinka Sola mentioned it. I do have it here, and I'm going to provide it. In the event if you're unable to order any food from the hotline, just remember to call this number 1-800-799-7233. Once again, 1-800-799-7233. And don't forget, domestic violence is real and COVID-19 is equally real. But before I end the show, let me just remind you on the next lineup of activities that we have here on HCN. So on the 3rd of October, there's going to be the Ghana Fest. The Ghana Fest is a whole celebration that presents the true culture, tradition, and several other development that is going on, historical development that is going on currently in Ghana and being celebrated here. We're going to host it here on HCN. Try as much as possible to tune in, and you're going to see that beautiful culture from that small African country. Hopefully over time we can get our other African countries to also share with us the beauty of the motherland. Stay tuned. It's going to be again on the 3rd of October, and it's going to be the Ghana Fest. It's been me and Anna J on HCN and on the Dot Stream. Thank you for making time with us. Stay blessed. Catch you next time.
Virtual Ghana Fest 2020, showing live on HCN. COGA, the Council of Ghanaian Associations, Dallas-Fort Worth, in collaboration with its member associations, present the 3rd Annual Ghana Fest 2020, showcasing our cultural and traditional dance and displays, fashion show, musical performances, and our local businesses. Call the number on the screen to promote your products and services. Virtual Ghana Fest 2020. Let us celebrate our culture, traditions, education, and development in our community.
HCN.
Welcome to Transatlantic Air and Ocean Shipping USA. We are the only reputable shipping company that offers air cargo from Dallas to Ghana within 7 to 10 business days. Transatlantic ships from household goods, cars, electronics, auto parts, accessories, clothing, cosmetics, medication, and more at the speed of 7 to 10 business days. All costs are included. If you are in the Dallas-Fort Worth area or in any other state in the USA, you can ship or drop off your goods or packages at our 4,000 square feet warehouse. Customers in Ghana can order or purchase goods and ship them directly to our warehouse, and we will consolidate and ship it to Ghana within 7 to 10 business days. Our ocean shipping service takes 8 to 9 weeks, door to door. Again, prices are all inclusive. You don't have to pay any additional fees to customs. We are located at 7661 Rendon Bloodworth Road, Suite 600, Mansfield, Texas 76063. Our contact number 214-493-7745 or 214-994-8846. Transatlantic. We are the #1 air and ocean shipping company from Dallas to Ghana. Come on.
Virtual Ghana Fest 2020, showing live on HCN. COGA, the Council of Ghanaian Associations, Dallas-Fort Worth, in collaboration with its member associations, present the 3rd Annual Ghana Fest 2020, showcasing our cultural and traditional dancing displays, fashion show, musical performances, and our local businesses. Call the number on the screen to promote your products and services. Virtual Ghana Fest 2020. Let us celebrate our culture, traditions, education, and development in our community.